global reach of Global Power BI user group. We do have official pages from Microsoft, and that you can see right now on my screen. And we will share all the links to join the Global Power BI via this slide, where you can join on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere. And without wasting a single minute, we will jump into the Gil session. So Gil, I will make you presenter.
Hi everyone. I'm really excited to be here today with you again. Today we will do something interesting, I think, and you will see how to use Power BI to get information to get Facebook information into Power BI and be able to analyze the audience comments with sentiment analysis. We did this presentation, I think, a month ago. Hopefully this time it will be as exciting as it was the last time. And for those of you who didn't attend, welcome. And let's start. I hope that everyone sees my screen now. So you see this is the World of Power BI Facebook group page. And we will try to analyze this page to find which audience is more engaged and to start getting more insights from the type of activity that a public Facebook group can provide to us. The first step in the way is to get the ID of the public page, of the public group, and we can do that by right-clicking on the browser and clicking view page source. Now we will see the HTML code from Facebook, and we can now search for profile ID, profile_ID inside the code. The first occurrence of profile ID gives us the Facebook ID name for the Power BI global group. So let's use that. Now, what we should do, please remember that the specific ID when you do that. So I copy the ID. The next thing that we will need to do is to start a new account in Microsoft Cognitive Services. The Microsoft Cognitive Services provides a bunch of really exciting and awesome APIs that allows you to perform machine learning and all kinds of detections based on images and text. And in our case, we will use the Text Analytics API, and more specifically, we will use the sentiment analysis API calls that are provided for free by Microsoft. So we will get into this section in a minute, but let's start with the Power BI desktop. Okay? So I open a Power BI desktop file, a new file from scratch. Everything that you will see today is real life demo, no DAX, no slides. We will do it very slowly, so you'll be able to repeat it. And of course, I can also share the file later on after this session. So the first step is to click on the Get Data button. And inside the Get Data button, let's just click on it. We will go to Online Services and select Facebook. I'll click the Connect button here to start the Facebook connector. Let's ignore this specific third-party service warning. And now this is the dialog, the Facebook dialog that Power BI provides. By the way, you can do most of the things that we will do today also inside Excel. If you have Excel 2010 with Power Query add-in, or Excel 2013 and Excel 2016 with the Get and Transform section in Excel. But today we do it here in Power BI Desktop. So here in this dialog, I'm deleting the default me, and instead I will paste the ID that we previously took from this page here. Remember, we opened the public group that we were interested in monitoring and get insight of that group, and we search for profile ID, and then the first element, which was the value, we copy and paste it, and now it is here as part of the ID, the object ID by Facebook. The next thing is to click OK. And now the Power Query engine inside Power BI Desktop shows us the initial information from Power BI user group, the global user group that we are all part of. You can see that we have, this is actually in Power BI technology, this is actually a record with many fields and values, description, email, icon, etc. And we are interested in the connections. Let's click on the record object inside the connection. And now you can see that we have another record with the field feed, and the value in feed is a table object. So let's also click on the table here. And that's starting to becoming something very promising data from the Power BI group that we can start analyzing. So as the first step, let's try to build a very strong and solid data model for all the transformation that we see here. As you may know, Facebook API, the Graph API by Facebook, provides all this data in a JSON format, which is a nested format, and that's why you see a lot of records under some of the columns, and you can also, of course, expand many of the elements here. For example, you see that we have under column actions, we have table objects. If we will click here on the expand button, the table will just get expanded, where each specific post in the Power BI user group feed will get duplicated because of the expansion of the column. So to make it a more robust data model in what we are going now to import and reshape, we would like to have a big fact table with some other tables which will be used as the lookup tables. So the first step for me is to change the query name, and I will call it a base query, because I don't intend to use this query eventually in the data model. And I will also right click in the query here on the left side, and I will disable the load by unchecking the enable load option here. Okay, this will tell Power BI Desktop not to use the specific transformation as part of the eventual load into the data model as a table. The next step is to right click here again and to use the reference. So now I get a new query called base query 2, and you can see here on the right in the applied steps that it also only has one step, which is source. And the first step is actually the end of the base query last step that we had here. So now we will use this query to get all the posts that were published on the Power BI group. So I will change the query name to posts. And now I will select by going into Home tab in Choose Columns. I click the Choose Columns option, and I will select the specific fields that are more relevant for me. So let's use the ID. The ID is very important for us. I'll show you later how to use the ID information to create a link inside the dashboard itself, inside the report. Let's also take the From column. We'll take the message itself. Let's also take just a minute, we'll scroll down a bit, so we will see. We will take the likes because we want to see which persons are clicking the like options inside our comments and posts. And also we would like to get the comments themselves. Last item that we would like is the created time to get us the date for the post itself. Okay. Now, after the selection of the important field in this specific scenario, we can click the OK button here and choose columns. And now we have all the columns that are important for us. And we can start drilling down into information which is important. For example, you see that the column from is a record, but we actually want to expand it and extract from it the name of the person who published the specific post. So I just, again, what I did is to click on the expand button, and I selected only the name as the field that I'm interested in to get into the report. So now we have all the names for the people that published the specific post. Let's change it into name. And we can also go to do additional things like taking the likes and the comments. So for this case, I will delete the likes and the comments for now. Okay, because eventually this is the table that is more interesting for me. I would really like to have one table for posts, the second table for likes that will be linked with the posts, and another table for comments. So this is the posts, and we can also click here on created time to make sure that we use the date, time, and time zone here. As you can see, we have also the time zone information, so that's why I selected the date, time zone. I also want to extract only the date, so I'll click add column, and under the date drop down I will select date only. Now I have a new column called date with only the date portion of the date time from the first column. Okay, next step is to go again to the base query. And now in the base query, the only element that I would like to use is, let me click again on base query and we'll do a reference. And here this time in the second query that we started, we will just want to get all the information about the users that liked the specific posts. So I'm changing the name to likes. And now under Home tab, I will go again to choose column. And I will just select the ID of the post and the likes field. We click OK again. You can see now that I have a table for each specific post. The table includes all the information for each post, the users that liked the specific post. I will click here on the expand button, and let's retrieve just the name for this demonstration. And now you can see that I have all the individuals that liked these specific posts. We can also filter remove empty because there were some posts that didn't get any like. So we can remove those. And that's it. We have the like query ready for us for the next level. The next phase is again to go to the base query to manage, to extract the comments information. So I go again to base query, right click on it and select the reference. And now in the new query, I will rename it to comments. And in Home tab, I will go to choose columns again, and I will select the ID for the post ID, and we'll select also the comments. Let's find the comments here. Here we have them, and we can click OK. Now you can see that many posts didn't get any comments at all, which makes sense. Not everyone is engaged to the level to comment on Facebook posts. You can see also here in this UI that Power Query doesn't allow us to use the filter at this stage The reason it doesn't allow us to use the filter at this stage is because of the table object that it recognizes. Usually it doesn't really important, but if you are interested in more advanced scenarios, I can just tell you that you can actually use the advanced editor here, or even some manipulations through the user interface to filter all the nulls without the need to click here in the button. But that's perhaps for another session. For the time being, since the data is not very big, we can expand the data even though we have a lot of nulls. Usually, if you have larger data, you would probably want to try to find the ways to do the filtering before we do the expand. So I click on the expand button, and let's just take the from column, the ID, and the message. Actually, when I think about it, I think that we can also take the like count, which will tell us how many people liked the specific comments. I will click OK now. And you can see that now that we have all the information about each comment, and for a specific post, the post ID is duplicated for each specific row, because, for example, this post got seven comments. So this is all the information that we have for that specific post. We can now also filter, for example, let's filter the message and remove empty, because comments that are empty, there is no such thing as an empty comment. The reason we see those empty rows and null values is because some of the posts didn't have any comments, and we just couldn't remove them in the UI. So let's remove them now. And now we can also expand the from column, and let's also select the name, so we will see who commented on each post. And that's it. We have all the data that we need. We can now go and change the like count to a whole number. Let's also call it likes. And the ID .1, this is a very important column for us. This is the comment ID. So let's change it into comment ID. So we have now a post ID, which is this one, and a comment ID. And we will change this one to post ID. And that's it. So now we have the posts, the like, and the comments, and I think that we are ready to move to the next step. So likes, posts, let's see that we don't have anything that we should convert in terms of the type. No, we are ready to go. So we will just click the close and apply. And now Power BI loads the data for us. One comment which is very important at this stage, the way that I showed you how to build the information into 3 different separate tables is more accepted by people that are quite familiar with DAX. This is a better way to shape the data, and we will soon show you how to build the relationships. But you should be aware of the fact that we actually used the Facebook connector 3 times to do the refresh now. Power BI doesn't know how to do the optimization to go to Facebook only once, due to the fact that we used 2 references for the base, actually 3 references of the base query. It meant that we went to the Facebook platform 3 times, so the refresh is 3 times slower than if I would just expand all the data in a single table. But this model is much better in terms of the potential of using the DAX syntax. Okay, so let's examine the tables that we loaded. I'm clicking on the relationship here. You can see that automatically Power BI recognized the relationship here between posts and likes, and it used the ID of the post for establishing the relationship. Now we also need to go to comments and make sure that the post ID on comments table is also associated to the ID on under posts. So I'm dragging the post ID and dropping it here. And that's it. We have most of the things that we need. Let's do some other elements which are relatively important for us. For example, we would like to see how many posts, how many likes we get over time. So the best way to do that is to create a calendar table. So let's do it now. You may skip this phase if you would like on many scenarios, but since we started to build a better data model for our scenario, let's do it. It's relatively very, very easy. So I clicked here on the modeling tab inside Power BI desktop, and I'm clicking on the new table. Now let's call our table calendar, and just a moment, calendar, and I am using the autocomplete here to write CAL for calendar, and you can see that the third option, calendar auto, is a function that if I can just use it without any attributes and click enter, automatically I will get a new table with a date. Let's see it here in the data view. So you can see now that I have a calendar table with a lot of dates. Okay. Next thing is to go again to the relationship here, and now we can use the calendar table as a lookup table for all the posts that we have. So remember that we created under post a column called date, and we have the date here in calendar. So we can just drag and drop the date from calendar to posts. And now I also have the calendar table that will help us in the visualizations later on. Okay, so let's see some insights in action. We can, for example, select this line chart here, move the date from calendar into the axis, and now let's start also building some measures. You know, if you are not familiar with DAX, you can easily just go drag anything, any field under post. If you will just drag it into the values, Power BI automatically will use an implicit measure and will calculate the count of measures. But this is not a best practice approach if you start using DAX, because the count of message is an implicit DAX measure that cannot be reused, and you cannot change the formula if you need in the future to do some adaptation. So a better way, which we prefer, those of us that practice DAX, is to create an explicit measure. So here I clicked on the 3 dots under post to create a new measure. Let's call it post, and we will just count the rows of table posts. Okay, and now you can see a new measure with the small icon of the calculator. This is our measure, and I will just drag and drop it to the values. So you can see now that we have the visualization of 2014. Power BI user group wasn't probably created back then. Still we have some 4 posts there, so we can see them, check them out later on. But we can also, let's only drill down on 2016, so I can select, I can switch to drill down mode and click on 2016. And now I have the information by quarters. Now, since we are not a financial institute, I prefer to remove the quarter. So I'll go to the axis and just click on the X button here to remove the quarter from the date hierarchies. And let's do it again. I will drill down to 2016. And now you can see that we have the information month over month. Okay? For 2016, you can see how many posts are published by the community. We can change it perhaps to a better visual to reflect the information. And something that I like to do very much is also to turn on the data labels in the format pane, in the format view of the visualization pane, and then to remove the y-axis because we don't need it anymore. So I click off in y-axis, and now we have all the different dates. Now let's see which users were just a moment. Let's go back. So I will turn off the drill down because I don't want to drill down now to October. I just want to use this visual to be able to slice and dice the different months. And to be able to see the different users, let's add another, oh, sorry for that. Let's add a new visual here. And in this visual, we will use the names. So we have in posts the name. This is the user that published each post, and I will add it into the axis. And now again, we will use the posts measure and we'll drag it into the values. Okay, and we can also click here on the star menu, on the three dots menu, to sort the data by posts. Okay, so now you can see how many posts are published by whom. Vishal, you are the first one. You are the winner. So again, we can go to the format pane here and remove the y-axis and add data labels. Sorry, the x-axis, the y-axis we can keep it. So we have the actual numbers on each bar. And now if we will go to October, you see that the data change. If you are familiar with the interaction in Power BI, we can click Edit Interaction to make sure that when we slice and dice by month, we want to filter the data and not to highlight the data. So now I will turn off the Edit Interaction, and when I go to each month, you see different users that are engaged. Okay? So on October I have 5 posts. On September, Adam Sexton is leading with 9 posts, and on March, John Mulkins is leading with 11 posts. Okay, let's move to something which is more interesting, which is the sentiment analysis. Okay? Back to the Power Query. I'm clicking on Edit Queries here. Okay? And now I will go back to my browser. Now it's time to open the Microsoft Cognitive Services portal. I can also copy and paste this data for you to show just in a second. Let's edit here. I'm just pasting the URL here in case you are trying live to do what I'm showing you, but if you don't, that's fine. And now we are going to use my account here. I'm clicking my account, and you can see that I have, just a minute, I need to sign in. It will take a second. So while I'm signing into Microsoft Cognitive Services, you can see that I'm already subscribed to the text analytics preview. Okay, this one allows me to use 5,000 transactions per month. Now, each transaction can contain 1,000 different text messages. So you can see that I actually have 5 million API calls every month, which is more than what I need. I'm using it for my blog. So many days now, and I never had to pay anything for Microsoft. So it's really a fantastic service to perform sentiment analysis for you. So the first thing that you will need to do is to copy one of these API keys. And now back in the Power BI desktop, you can go here into Home and create under manage parameters, you can create a new parameter. Okay, this is the parameter that I've created in advance. Let me show it to you. Just a minute. We will click the manage. So this is the parameter that I created. It is the API key. I'm using it also because later on I will publish with you this file, so you'll be able to use, and you will need to paste the API key to that parameter. And perhaps we will also have time to show you how to do that. So basically, you create a parameter, you call it API key. You can write some explanation for what this API key is used for, but you can just leave everything here and just paste the specific API key that we took from here by clicking here on the copy, and you just paste it into the current value here and click OK. So now we have a new parameter in Power Query, which is called API key. The second part, and this is something that I wrote in advance. There wasn't any sense to write it on the fly now during the demonstration. You should take this specific code, and this specific code in M, the Power Query expression language, allows you to get a table as an input, convert it into JSON in the way where the Microsoft API, you see this is the Microsoft Cognitive Services API call. This code allows you to use the table and upload it into the service to get the sentiment analysis results. Okay. I also published a few blogs around these scenarios, so you can find them also on Power BI community with more detailed information about the steps. But you have this code and you can use it. And by the way, you can see in this specific line here, this is where I'm using the parameter API key that we just created with our API. So for the time being, let me just copy this specific text in case you are trying to follow. Just for a second, I will paste it also here as a message in case you want to take it. Okay, so we have this query that we prepared in advance called Get Sentiment Results. And now let's get all the comments and try to get sentiment analysis on the specific comments of our audience. Okay? So the next step for me is to go to comments, right click on reference. Let's call this new query comment sentiment. Now I need to keep only two columns. The first column, I click on the Home ribbon and select again choose columns. The first column that I need is the comment ID, which is a unique key that is needed to the sentiment analysis API. For each specific message, we need a specific key, a unique one. The second step is to select the message itself. Now, since the API requires the data in different names, it requires the comment ID to be called in JSON ID. So I'm just renaming the column to ID. And the second column message, it requires it as text. This is the name of the column that the API requires. Okay. Next step, since the API works with groups of 1,000 messages for each call, we can group all the information here into groups of 1,000 1,000 messages. Now I know in advance that we don't have 1,000 messages we don't have 1,000 comments in the user group yet. But let me show you how to do that in case you will need. I also published that in DataChant, so you can find it later on. So the next step is to group all the messages here into groups of thousands. To do that, I will add a column. I will go to the Add Column tab, and I will click the Add Index column, which I have it here. The next step is to go to the Transform, and inside the Transform tab, go to the Standard drop-down menu and select the integer divide. I will type 1,000 here, 1,000 here, and you can see now that the index was changed, and every 1,000 rows, 1,000 rows get the next index. So the first 1,000 rows get the number 0. The second 1,000 rows will get the number 1, and so forth, and so forth. So now we have everything grouped. We can go to we can now click in under Transform. Just a minute. In Group By. I'm clicking Group By now, and I'm going to group all the table by index. So I select the index in the Group By text drop-down menu here. I need the index, and instead of selecting specific columns, I want the entire rows as part of the new column, which I call data here. I will click OK, and now you can see that I have, if I would have more than 1,000 comments, each index will have a table which is a subset of the data, and is no more than the next 1,000 rows. In our case, it's easy. We only have 1,000, so it works as expected. Now we can go and add another column, and let's add a column using the relatively new functionality called the Invoke Custom Function. So I click here, and now I select the function that we prepared in advance called Get Sentiment Results, and I want to use the data column as my input, because the data column has the table that we need. So automatically Power Query populated this drop-down menu for us, and let's click OK. Okay, and voila, we have now the result under record. We can actually delete the first two columns which are not important for us anymore, and just expand this record. Let's expand it and click OK. You see that we have the documents and we also have errors. Assuming that we don't have errors, we can just ignore them, but you can also create a query that will drill down the list here to make sure that you don't have any invalid information that you used as part of the API call to the Microsoft Cognitive Services. But in our case, let's just remove the errors. So I delete the column errors, and I will expand the list object here. The list was just a list of records, so we can also click on the expand button here. And you can see that Microsoft Cognitive Services returned a list of records with the attributes ID and score. Let's expand those as well by clicking OK. And that's it. We have the comment ID, and we have also the score, the sentiment score. The sentiment score is a number, it's a decimal number between 0 to 1. 0 is negative, 1 is positive. Anything in between is something which is more positive or more negative in terms of many different algorithms, and also in terms of the confidence level. So, for example, if you want to make sure that you get only very negative comments, you will probably want to filter everything which is less than 0.2 to make sure that these are the comments that are very negative for you. Let's now change the type here to be a decimal number. Okay, and we can also now close this specific query. So let's close it here. Now, by the way, we have two options. We can either merge between the comments and comment sentiments, because if you remember, in comments with the comment ID, so now we can just merge the query and combine it with the comment sentiment. This is probably something that will be more useful if you have a lot of intense DAX calculation later on. But in our case, it's relatively straightforward, so let's just keep it as it is. And we'll close and apply this query. And now Power BI goes fetch again all the data, all the comments, upload it into the Microsoft Cognitive Services. By the way, we also refresh everything, so the Facebook data is also being pulled in again. So we need to wait for a second, and that's it. You see that we have now a new table called comment sentiment. Let's just add some very useful things for us. For example, we will go just to show it to you in a tabular way. So you can see that we have now the comment sentiment here as two columns. Okay, let's add another column for the ranking. Okay, I will create a new column, calculated column here as part of the Power Pivot technology, and let's call it sentiment rank. Okay, now if score is lower than 0.3, then I want to have the message sentiment here. Otherwise, if the sentiment comment score is above 0.7, this is positive. Otherwise, positive. Sorry for the typo. And otherwise, let's call it neutral. Okay. So now I have another column for neutral, positive, or sorry, not sentiment, negative. Sorry, guys, for making it not clear enough. So again, if the score is below 0.3, it is relatively negative message for us because it's closer to 0. So we will call the sentiment rank column, the value there, we will call it negative. If it's above 0.7, it's positive. Otherwise, in between, it is a neutral. So we have this information now. And we can also create some measures. Let's create some measures because we said that we prefer explicit measures. So I can go to a new measure here. And let's call it sentiment average, or average sentiment, which is average of the sentiment score. That's it. So we also have the average. Let's also create another measure that will count how many posts are negative. For just as an example, so we can go again to comment sentiment table, right click here on the three dots, create a new measure, and we can write here negative comments. And now we can use the calculate in DAX, and inside calculate we will just write we want to measure the number of posts, which we already have this measure that we prepared in advance. So we count the number of posts. However, we want to use a filter where the sentiment rank will be negative. So this is a filter that we apply as part of the calculate function that allows us now to count only the number of posts which are negative. By the way, my mistake, this is not a post, this should be the number of comments. So let's just do it in a different way. We'll use count rows for the comments instead of the posts. Okay. Now, if we will go again to the report, and let's copy and paste the first visual. And now, instead of posts, let's use instead the negative comments. Okay, we'll drag the negative comments to value, and now you can see this is the number. These are the number of negative comments that we have every specific month. Okay, just you can see we can also let's also add here very quickly comments to count the entire number of comments. Count rows of comments, and if we will also add the comments here, it's the same. Okay, that's interesting. So it probably means that we are no, that's probably a bug on my side. Never mind, for now, let's, instead of trying to troubleshoot that, let's move to something, to the next step. Perhaps later on I'll be able offline to fix that. So we are now not sure if we are counting all the comments or only the comments that are actually have negative, that are negative. So so let's assume that we just count here on the entire comments in this case, okay? Because you see, it doesn't make sense that the number of comments, that all the comments are negative. So it means probably that we are doing something bad here in terms of the calculation. By the way, I think that I know what we do here. You can see, first of all, we didn't create, that's the problem. So you see that we had the comment table, and then we created another table for the comment sentiment, and we just forgot to map between the two. If you remember, we had the ID. The ID was the comment ID that we used as part of the API, and we just need to tie between those two, and hopefully, okay, now it works. So you see now that the negative comments are much lower than the entire comments for each month. Now everything worked. I was able to fix the bug. Let's do some nice things now. We will use a table visual. Okay, so we have a table visual now. And let's, inside the table visual, we will drag and drop the average sentiment here, and we will also drag and drop the comments themselves. Okay, let's take the comments from here. We have the message. Let's take the message, and let's also, just to see the specific person that made the comment, we'll take the name field and also use it here. Let's make it the second value. Okay, so now you see that we have a table, and we can also sort it, for example, So you see these are the guys that commented on different posts, and the comment was relatively very, very positive. And if you will just sort it in ascending order, you can see these are the posts that were more negative. Okay. By the way, sometimes there are bugs here by Microsoft, and especially in such a forum where the technical language is not always negative or positive in sentiment. Sometimes there are languages that are, for some reason, detected as something which is negative, but it is not.
Sure. So just interesting if you read the negative comment, the second negative comment. Yeah, we are not able to record the video session, right? That shows the negative comment.
Let's see.
Yeah, the second one.
Cool.
Yeah, the second one.
Yeah, cool. Okay, guys. So that was the last time that we ran this session. Hopefully, we will not have negative comments like this. But let me show you something very, 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 very useful when you use Facebook with Power BI, which is the ability to add links. So we will be able to drill down from Power BI into Facebook itself to review the specific comment, okay? And that will be the last thing that we will do, and then we will start doing some questions. Okay, so sorry for the noise, it will be over in a second. So we'll now go and open again the edit queries. Okay, clicking on edit queries again, and if you remember, we had the comment ID as part of the information that we used here. Now this is something that we can do also inside DAX, as part of DAX, as a calculated column, but it's better to use. It is better to be used to be done here. What we are going to do is to convert this ID into a Facebook URL. So we will click Add Column. We'll click the new Custom Column, Add Custom Column option. And here I will just, inside double quotes, I will just type HTTPS, facebook.com, and then with an ampersand, I will concatenate this string with the comment ID. Then we'll click OK. Let's call it comment link. So now I have the actual URL of the comment link. To prove it to you, I can just copy it and go to my browser and paste the URL, and you will see that it goes into the specific comment on the group. Okay, so the next thing for us is to go back to the query editor, close the query now that we have the comment link. Okay, we will let the information again being updated. Again, unfortunately, we need to go and do everything again, though there are some mechanisms to disable the refresh. But let's wait just a second till we finish all this calculation. And now we can go to the comment table, and you can see that we have where was it? The link, I don't see it for some reason. Did I edit? Second.
It's in the comment.
Yeah, comment link. Okay, so I will now drag and drop. I will select again my table. I will drag and drop the comment link. Let's edit as the second column here. Now you see that I have the values, but I cannot use it. I cannot click on that. So there are two steps to change it into links. The first step is to go into modeling, select again here the comment link, and change the data category in the modeling ribbon from uncategorized to web URL. Okay, so now this is the first step. Now these links will work for us when we click on them, and also of course when we publish this report to Power BI service. The next step is to go in the format pane for this table and find, I think it is in values. Under values, you can see I expand the values section. You can see that there is a URL icon on off. Now it is off by default, and I will turn it on. So now you can see that I have a small link icon instead of the long text. So now it works for us, and if I will just, let's, for example, check my specific comments. So you can see when I click on Gil Raviv, these are my posts, and these are all the guys that commented on my posts. And I can now, let's, for example, go to Vishal's comment about the last recording that didn't work. When I will click here, you will see the specific comment live on Facebook. So that's it. I think we did the entire, we showed you all the main elements. Of course, you can also perform the same sentiment analysis also on the posts, not only on the comments. Let me show you the Power BI file that I prepared in advance, and you will be able to use it after this session and just change it and tune it to your own needs, to monitor our group or to monitor your own Facebook groups. So that's the report that I created for the different analysis that we did, and you'll be able to use it. So that's it for today. You can also go to datachance.com under Facebook Insights. You will find many additional scenarios for Facebook Analytics, and you can also, if you need some Twitter Analytics, you can also find a new blog that I recently published in this domain. So let's go a bit about if we have any questions, I will be glad to answer.
Sure, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So first question is, will I need to be part of the group to analyze?
Could you repeat, please?
Yeah. Do I need to be part of the group to analyze?
No, that is a very important question. No, you don't need. If the group is public, you don't need to be part of it. But you know, perhaps. So there are several types of groups, but for the ones that are public, you don't need to be part to get this data.
Sure. The second question is, can I have multiple types of data sources, like one from the Facebook, one from the CSV?
Of course, you can get different multi data sources and mesh them up together. You don't just need to do it from Facebook. I can now open this file and go and just add under the get data, add additional information, additional data sources, and combine them together, mesh them up together, create a relationship here, or use the query editor. Inside the edit queries, I can create also all kinds of mashups to combine and append different tables together. You see here we have the merge queries and append queries that allows us to mesh up data from different sources. Now, just one disclaimer: if you are using the direct query technology in Power BI, you will not be able to mesh up direct query data with data that you import in other ways.
Awesome. So the last question, and I'm also interested to hear the answer. So suppose I have two groups. Can I create the parameters for the profile ID?
If you have two groups,
yes,
of course. If you have two groups and they are not closed groups, or you are a member of those groups, you can combine the data from those groups. Let me show you. So basically, in the query editor, let's click the edit queries. Just a second, it's here. So you can see that the base query as part of the source, you see this number. This is the group number. I can extract this number and create this query as a function to be able to load multiple groups as part of the visualization, or we can just manually create different base queries with the different numbers here.
Awesome. So can you show the latest post from the Facebook in your Power BI?
The latest post on sentiment analysis?
No, the latest post which I have posted in Facebook.
To show in the data the latest post.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's open the Power BI desktop report again. And I can go, there are several ways to do that, but just as an example, I can create another table, copy paste here. Okay. And let's add here, instead of the comments, we'll take the date, the created time, and we'll use it here as the first element. Okay, you see that we don't need the drill down of the different hierarchies, so let's just use the created time. And now I can sort it by today. Let's see if it does the sorting correctly. No, it doesn't. Just a second.
Or maybe we have filtered some data.
Yeah, I'll take the post just for a second. The message here. Here. So now we have from today, if you missed the debate last night, here is the most weird way to listen to the debate. Okay, and you can see in the group as well. This is something that I just published earlier before the session. I just share with you something in this post, so you can see that it took the latest one.
Okay. Awesome. Actually, I just posted something during the session. How can you click the refresh?
Okay.
Let's see.
You click the refresh.
And whatever is message is going to pop up, that's what I wanted to say.
Did you post a new post or a comment?
New post.
Okay. Let's see. No, I don't see it yet. Okay. So that's the new post. It's from now.
No, just go down. This one.
Okay. Yes. So let's see. Sometimes the API are not 100% up to date. It takes time for the platform to update it.
Yeah, I remember, the same issue. They have some 10 minutes of, after only 10 minutes you can refresh the data from the Facebook.
Yes. So perhaps it's something like that. They don't guarantee to have it in a real time. Let's hope so.
Yeah.
No, nothing new. But believe me, it works.
I can see your second last post. No problem. So this was very awesome session, guys. I'm sure viewers will be like to use this session again and see offline. We will definitely publish this video. And do you want to say anything?
No, I'm really excited to share with you these scenarios. Please feel free to follow my blog to get more. And of course, if you have any specific questions regarding this specific scenario, feel free to contact me by email. We'll share all the information later on through the group.
All right. Thank you, Gil, for awesome sessions. Thank you for Global Power BI user session. See you in the next session.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.